Dawson Ryder here. Welcome to my review for KIkai Sentai Zenkaiger episode 19, and this was our debut for Super Zenkaiser, and this is the start of the debut of kind of all the forms related to this, because we still have to do two Kaisers, and of course the mecha itself. We technically got sort of an intro into two Kaisers version, or at least the send-up for it. So overall it was a solid episode though. It was kind of mixed with a little bit of a filler plot about the monster of the week making people think it's Goldenrod City and it's time for the bug contest. So everyone is going around catching beetles and they're like, bug out! Bug back! Solid Beetleborg reference, Dawson. Wait! Blaster Beetleborg. Now that that's out of the way, that's what's kind of going on for the filler portion of the episode. And then it's really funny because one of the things that happens before the Rangers get zapped with it, they end up like having the civilians get in the way of the fight, and so they can't fight properly. And I was thinking, oh man, I wish KIkai would come in and not care about civilians again, because I thought that was hilarious in the episode where they're like, you can't punch the civilians. And he's like, why? Or can't punch these putties or whatever. He's like, because they're civilians. He's like, oh. And that's exactly what happened. KIkai showed up like right after that. As soon as I thought that, all of a sudden you hear, yo ho hoi! And he shows up and starts throwing people in front of the Ray, like both civilians and the Rangers, and I just thought that was funny. I actually think that happened when they were already under the Ray, but whatever. It was funny regardless. So you have that going on, and as a result, you get KIkai's sister and Not Navi working together. You can tell that I can really remember their names, but they're working together, sort of exchanging information, and she helps him make the power-up, because they end up getting the blueprints for the power-up for the Fang memory. And how do they get that? Well, that ties into something else that's going on off-screen, which happens in a couple scenes, which is Stacy, who, if you remember last week, saw the picture of Kaito's parents, and he seemed to recognize them. And I was thinking, okay, this for sure means that he's somehow related to them, because the grandmother reminds him of his mom, and then he sees the parents and recognizes them. But it seems like the reason he recognizes them is because he's seen them at the base before. So I'm still not sure where they're going for with that, whether he's going to be related or not. But it seemed like from last week the reason he recognized them was because he'd seen them at the what are they called again? The Toe Jam Intos, whatever they're called, the villain's base. And he's looking at the computer and he pulls up these really creepy looking models of Kaito's parents. And I'm not sure if it's like live feed of them captive or they've been digitally uploaded, but regardless, they look like ghosts from the ring. It's really creepy. And he's trying to figure out how to get them to respond. And at one point he's like, oh, maybe if I try to pose like him. And he poses like, Zenkaiger! That was disgusting. That doesn't seem to work, so he walks away, but then their eyes open super creepily, and then they're like, that was supposed to be the creepy grudge ring noise, but it just didn't work. I sounded like a sick goat. Hinting that when they woke up, that is what activated the blueprints for the Super Zenkaiser power-up device. And then the two of them work together, KIkai's sister and Not Navi, and he gives them the tip to use the Abba Ranger gear, which results in my favorite one so far, because it's one of my favorite Ranger suits and favorite Sentai characters, actually, Abba Killer. So the Abba Killer gives him like the pen sword, which he uses to draw a huge maple syrup to lure the monster out. But so they exchange the info for that, and then Zenkaiser winds up breaking free of the control because he remembers bug hunting when they were little. Convenient that that happened. Although, I do like that they kind of just took this silly nothing plot and did give it a little bit of a character beat. It didn't teach us anything new, but Zenkaiger's done that a couple times, which I kind of appreciate, where it takes kind of just a dumb filler plot that could have just ended up being useless and at least gave you some sort of touchstone character moment. But for whatever reason, that snaps him out. I think the primary reason is because they needed him to debut the power-up. So after he snaps out, he shows up at the fight, and that's when the two of them show up to give him the power-up device, and he transforms into Super Zenkaiser, which is obviously based off of Dragon Caesar, which it looks really cool. And I like the device voice. I think it sounds really cool. It sounds cooler than the usual shrieking. Just in general, it looks pretty cool. I mean, it's very big and cumbersome, different from a usual power-up, but in a lot of ways, aesthetically, Zenkaiger is a very different series. And something I didn't think about literally until this episode, seeing in action, is I like how his power-ups has him sort of fitting in with the Robo Rangers more, which is really cool. But I thought it was cool. It had a cool debut fight. We're not debuting the mecha form yet because the mecha battle was just our standard fare using the Core 3 mecha. It was kind of a unique little garden setting though, which was neat. And then at the end, when they're sort of all having their kumbaya lunch or dinner or whatever, they reveal that KIkai's sister made a gadget for him, so they're not going to have to share it. I was curious about that, whether it was going to be a shared power-up. I mean, it is a shared power-up, but what I mean is that they couldn't use it at the same time. But they made a copy one, and I don't remember which one it was. One of the characters said, oh, it's a pirated copy, which I thought was pretty funny. So they're not going to have to share it like type dead heat or anything like that. It is a unique power-up in the sense that it's kind of a shared one between the two of them, which is kind of cool. But it was a solid episode. I enjoyed it. You know, the filler stuff wasn't my favorite, but I liked the debut for it. It seemed a little out of nowhere, but once you realize that they're hinting that his parents opened it up, it kind of explains it and also leaves it open for further expansion later, which is neat. And I've just found it to be an overall enjoyable first installment in the sort of Super Zenkaiser, 2Kaiser arc of introducing the things. And yet again, I do appreciate that Zenkaiger will do a little bit of a slow burn. Like, I feel like in a lot of other series, we would have at least tried to squeeze in one of the mecha debuts. And I like how it seems we're going to be kind of stretching this out, because I'm going to assume next we'll get 2Kaiser's power up and then the mecha. And I like that because it kind of gives you more bang for your buck and it makes the power feel more special. So for this episode, I will give it a 3 out of 5. I thought it was very solid. And next week, it looks like I kind of forgot / didn't remember, I guess it's the same thing, that they were doing this crossover to sort of lead into the upcoming basically superhero Taisen movie. So next week is a crossover with Kamen Rider Saber, which is going to be interesting, I guess. I think I'm actually going to cover that as one review where I review both episodes. So look forward to that. But until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell so you can subscribe videos. And let me know what you thought of this episode and Super 2Kaiser's debut, or not Super 2Kaiser's. Let me know from the future, how was Super 2Kaiser's debut? Seriously, let me know what you thought of the debut of Super Zenkaiser in the comments. Till next time, Dawson Ryder, signing out.